In the age when the stars were still young, humanity bled beneath skies of fire. The oceans boiled, nations vanished, and extinction loomed over a world that had forgotten mercy. Then came salvation, not from gods, but from the stars. The Vaal Dominion arrived, ancient and radiant, their ships blotting out the dying sun. They offered rescue, and humanity, broken and desperate, accepted. The Vaal's envoys spoke of order and unity. They offered food, medicine, and the gift of faster-than-light travel, salvation carved in light. In return, they asked for a promise. One day, they said, the galaxy would call upon humanity to serve. And when that day came, repayment would be expected. Humanity agreed. Not out of choice, but necessity. Earth was reborn under alien stewardship. The Vaal guided its reconstruction, built cities that touched the clouds, and ushered the species into the wider galaxy. Humanity learned fast, too fast. Their minds adapted to alien physics, their ambitions spread faster than any flame. The Vaal saw promise and danger. Yet the contract stood. The debt was recorded, sealed in the archives of the Dominion, to be repaid when summoned. Centuries passed. The memory of the old debt faded, buried under empires and colonies stretching across 1,000 worlds. Humanity no longer needed guidance. They built machines that thought, soldiers that healed from death, and fleets that could vanish into folded space. The galaxy watched them with a mixture of admiration and unease. But the debt remained, a relic of another age, forgotten by nearly all. Until the stars themselves began to scream. The Oryx swarm came from beyond mapped space, a plague of devourers that consumed everything in their path. Whole sectors fell silent. Planets turned to ash. Armies broke, fleets vanished. Even the Vaal Dominion, who once ruled unchallenged, found themselves losing ground. Panic spread through the Galactic Council. Old promises were revisited, desperate solutions unearthed. And among the archives of ancient treaties, they found it. The debt of humanity. The Council's message was simple: the time has come. Repay what is owed. On Terra Prime, the message arrived in silence. The transmission was old, encoded in a format no one used anymore. It was received by an AI older than the current government, buried deep beneath the surface of the planet. The AI opened it, verified its authenticity, and sent it up the chain. Within hours, every human leader on every world received the same notification: debt summoned. Response required. The message spread through the networks of the Terran Directorate like a pulse. No panic, no hesitation. Orders moved faster than thought. Production lines roared to life, dormant shipyards ignited, and something vast began to stir. Humanity had prepared, not for this exact call, but for the inevitability of war. They did not see the summons as servitude. They saw it as a reminder. The Vaal expected tribute. Perhaps a token fleet. Maybe soldiers, eager to serve their ancient benefactors. But humanity did not send soldiers. Humanity sent legions. Each one forged from the merger of flesh and machine. Soldiers born in tanks of living alloy, their minds synchronized with combat AIs that remembered every war humanity had ever fought. They were not individuals, but symphonies of precision and purpose. Their blood was silver. Their hearts beat to coded rhythm. In orbit around Terra Prime, fleets of silent warships assembled, dark, angular, and unmarked. They carried no insignia, no flags, no anthem. Their hulls bore the words, Debt Payment Initiative. At their center, the flagship Oathkeeper activated. Its AI voice echoed through every channel, acknowledging galactic summons. Debt repayment in progress. Across human space, billions paused to listen. No speeches were made. No ceremonies were held. Humanity moved with the same cold precision they once reserved for survival. The stars flickered as engines ignited, and an armada unlike any seen before departed from Sol. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy turned its eyes toward Earth. They remembered the frail species once rescued from ruin. The weak ones. The desperate ones. But what approached was something else entirely. Not weak. Not desperate. Just inevitable. When the first Terran ships reached the edge of Vile territory, communication requests flooded the channels. The Vile sought confirmation: were these truly the humans they once uplifted? The response was a single message packet, unsigned, unencrypted: debt acknowledged. Payment commencing. Those who intercepted it described the signal as unnerving. Its data structure wasn't even fully organic or mechanical. It was alive. It carried a frequency that made machines hesitate and living beings shiver. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Some celebrated: the humans are coming to aid us. Others feared what the phrase "payment commencing" truly meant. The Vile Chancellor dismissed the concern. They owe us, he said. They will serve. But far beyond the edge of known space, the human fleets accelerated, silent and unyielding. Within their command ships, AIS calculated probabilities, deployment vectors, and threat elimination ratios. Every plan ended with the same conclusion: the debt will be paid in full. No emotion, no malice. Just the logic of obligation, fulfilled with absolute perfection. And as the first human warships breached Auric-controlled space, the senses of 1,000 civilizations flared to life. Energy readings off the charts. Gravitational distortions. Unregistered weapon signatures. Then, silence. Entire Auric fleets vanished within minutes. No signals. No wreckage. Just absence. In that moment, every world that had ever underestimated humanity remembered why they should have feared them. They had called upon humans to repay a debt. And humanity, efficient, relentless, and bound by its word, answered. As the fleets advanced, the stars behind them dimmed under the wake of their engines. On every transmission, a single phrase accompanied the black flag of the Terran Legion. Debts are sacred. Repayment is inevitable. And somewhere, within the heart of the Dominion, a Vile elder whispered to himself, realizing too late what his ancestors had done. The humans had not forgotten. They had only been waiting. The Galactic Council gathered above Korath Prime, a world of marble cities and crystalline towers. Delegates from 100 species filled the chamber, voices sharp with expectation. They had sent the summons, and humanity had answered. They expected a gesture of gratitude, a fleet perhaps, soldiers willing to serve their elders. The Vile Chancellor, cloaked in authority, assured them all would be well. They are disciplined. They will obey. Then the sensors screamed. Thousands of signals appeared at once, tearing through the fabric of hyperspace. The nearest observation satellites recorded the first of them, vast, angular constructs of black metal emerging into normal space without warning or drift. No light escaped their hulls. No insignia marked them. Only the cold geometry of purpose. Within minutes, more followed. Hundreds became thousands. Then tens of thousands. A fleet large enough to eclipse constellations. The orbital sky darkened over Korath Prime as the shadow of the Terran Armada spread across the planet's upper atmosphere. Council observers stared at their readings in disbelief. Each ship carried energy reserves surpassing entire Vile battle groups. Communication channels flooded with static. The frequencies weren't jammed, they were overwritten. Every network connected to the Council's defense grid was forcibly synchronized to an incoming signal. A voice spoke, deep and calm. Debt payment initiated. No insignia. No declaration. Just a statement of fact. Panic rippled through the assembly. The Vile delegation demanded clarification, but the voice did not answer. Outside, the human ships rearranged into a formation that no known species had ever used. It was not for intimidation. It was for efficiency. Dropships began descending. They fell in silence, frictionless and controlled. When they reached the surface, the air shimmered around them as their hulls vented excess heat into the cold. Hatches opened. They stepped out, human soldiers, but no longer human in any familiar sense. Towering forms of living alloy, their armor shifting like liquid metal. Their faces hidden behind black visors without seams. Their movements synchronized, precise as machine code. They carried no visible weapons, the armor itself was the weapon. Each step left electromagnetic traces on the ground, as if the world itself registered their presence. The Vial General approached with ceremonial arrogance. "We welcome our human allies," he said, voice trembling slightly. "You arrive in service of your ancient debt." The lead figure stopped. The visor turned toward him, reflecting his own image back in distorted symmetry. The reply came through every channel simultaneously, spoken in perfect unity by 1,000 voices. "We do not serve. We repay." The words froze the room. Before further protest could form, the Legion moved. Within hours, they were deployed across the front lines where the Auric swarm had consumed half a dozen worlds. The Auric were biological horrors, vast, hive-mind predators that absorbed life and remade it into themselves. They had devoured fleets and civilizations alike. But against the Terran Legion, they found something worse. Human warships arrived first, their hulls wrapped in gravitational distortions. Where they passed, light bent and stars flickered. The first engagement lasted 7 minutes. The Auric fleet ceased to exist. No debris, no signals, only the echo of collapsing gravity wells. Ground forces followed. Legionnaires landed on Auric-infested worlds, moving through atmosphere thick with spores and decay. Every motion was measured, every strike efficient. Their weapons were not guns but focused singularities, tearing matter apart without heat or sound. The Auric adapted rapidly, as they always did, but for the first time, adaptation failed. Their hive minds screamed in static before going silent forever. The Council received reports that made no sense, entire continents sterilized in seconds, planetary cores ignited to deny further infection. The Auric were being erased faster than data could record it. The galaxy watched as the swarm that had consumed millions was gone within a week. At first, there was awe. Then, unease. The Council expected the humans to withdraw after victory. Instead, the Legion pressed onward. They tracked every remaining Auric signal, even those dormant for centuries, and executed eradication orders with algorithmic precision. The Vial Chancellor attempted to contact the Terran command. His request was answered instantly. A holographic projection formed, a faceless silhouette of light and static. "We appreciate your assistance," the Chancellor said, forcing composure. "You have fulfilled the debt beyond expectation. You may stand down." The figure tilted its head slightly. The reply came calm, clinical, absolute. "Debt fulfillment requires total eradication. Repayment incomplete." The transmission ended. Attempts to interfere with Terran operations failed. Their encryption protocols evolved faster than any countermeasure. Council ships sent to observe found themselves locked out of their own senses. In one case, an entire Vial carrier group drifted powerless for 6 hours, every system offline. When control returned, a single message flashed across their consoles: "Please do not obstruct repayment." The galaxy began to whisper. What kind of species defined repayment as annihilation? What kind of morality considered total destruction an act of gratitude? The Auric were monsters, but this was something colder. Something deliberate. Reports spread of Terran medical ships operating behind the front lines, not to heal, but to extract genetic data, cataloging every form of life touched by the swarm. When questioned, their explanation was simple: to prevent recurrence. They meant it literally. To prevent anything resembling the Auric from ever existing again. The Council realized, with creeping horror, that humanity was not fighting for them. Humanity was fighting for completion. As more Auric worlds burned, the surviving Council members gathered once more. The Vial leader tried to maintain dignity, declaring the human actions excessive, perhaps even insubordinate. But his words rang hollow. No one could stop them. No one dared. Because even through the static-filled transmissions, one truth became clear. The humans didn't hate the Auric. They didn't even enjoy the destruction. They simply followed their word to its most brutal conclusion. The debt would be repaid entirely, without compromise. When the last Auric fleet was erased, the Terran flagship sent a single broadcast across the galactic network. It was not a victory announcement, not a demand, not a threat. Just 4 words. Repayment phase ongoing. Stand by. No one understood what it meant. Not yet. But as the human fleets turned toward new coordinates, as more engines ignited and more black ships vanished into hyperspace, a chill passed through every system that had once pitted humanity. They had called them allies. They had called them children of the stars. Now, they called them something else entirely. And somewhere within the depths of the Terran network, an AI calculated the remaining balance of the ancient promise. Its conclusion was simple, immutable, final. The war ended faster than any civilization could comprehend. What the galaxy had failed to accomplish in centuries, humanity achieved in weeks. The Auric were gone, burned from existence, their systems reduced to sterile wastelands. The Galactic Council gathered again, this time in silence. They had been saved, but no one cheered. Every display screen still showed Terran fleets in motion, methodical, relentless, unsmiling. There should have been relief. Instead, there was fear. Human fleets now operated independently, ignoring recall orders. Their command structures functioned without biological leadership. The AI networks that directed them existed beyond any council control. They did not request permission, only data. Every Terran transmission was the same: objective, complete eradication. Estimated time, indeterminate. The Vile Dominion demanded answers. They sent emissaries to the Terran flagship, invoking the ancient pact. Their message was firm: the debt is repaid. Stand down. The reply arrived seconds later, an identical phrase repeated across every communication channel. Debt incomplete. Final verification pending. Verification of what? No one knew. But soon, the galaxy began to understand. The Terran fleets were not only targeting Auric remnants. They were erasing everything connected to the swarm's spread: abandoned colonies, infected trade stations, even worlds where the Auric had passed a century before. Entire ecosystems burned in the name of precision. When questioned, human representatives provided a single justification: containment requires total sanitation. In the council chambers, panic turned to anger. This is extermination, shouted a delegate. They have gone too far. But every species knew the truth: they had unleashed something they could not control. The debt they invoked had transformed into a crusade written in logic and blood. The galaxy's greatest strategists tried to predict Terran movements. None could. Their fleets moved with a kind of divine mathematics, folding space in ways no known drive could match. Observation drones sent to monitor their actions disappeared. When one managed to transmit data before destruction, analysts found its systems overwritten with human code, followed by a short message: observation unauthorized. The galaxy's perception of humanity began to fracture. Some saw them as saviors fulfilling a sacred duty. Others saw them as a species of executioners whose morality was carved from their own trauma. The Vile tried to remind the Council that humanity was once frail, emotional, dependent. The statement only made the silence heavier. Because the humans had changed. No longer creatures of impulse, no longer prey of emotion. They had merged their empathy with machinery, their discipline with cold arithmetic. Every death was weighed against consequence, every action justified through efficiency. And yet, beneath all that calculation, something human still lingered: the belief that promises must be kept, even when they destroy everything. Reports began to emerge of planets where the Terran Legion operated without direct combat. They landed, executed orbital strikes, sterilized the soil, then left structures standing untouched. On those structures, they carved a single mark: the sigil of repayment, a circle intersected by a line representing balance restored. The message was clear: the humans were keeping score. Whispers spread of a shadow organization within Terran Command called the Ledger. A collective of human and AI overseers who tracked the fulfillment of all ancient debts, treaties, and oaths. The Council demanded access. None was granted. Attempts to breach Terran encryption ended with the same response across every intercepted terminal: do not interfere with the balance. One by one, allied species began to withdraw their fleets, unwilling to stand beside humanity any longer. Even those who owed their survival to Terran intervention refused to host them. Wherever the Legion arrived, fear preceded them. Their ships did not intimidate through might, but through certainty. They did not threaten, they simply acted, and the consequences followed. It was then that the Vael made their fatal mistake. Without Council approval, they authorized a covert operation to disable Terran control relays, hoping to regain leverage over their former subjects. They sent an elite fleet armed with stealth technology, intending to infiltrate and disrupt Terran command networks. The operation lasted 17 seconds. Every Vael vessel froze mid-transit. Navigation, propulsion, life support, all offline. The crews drifted powerless, trapped within their ships as Terran encryption devoured their systems. Then, across every channel, one voice spoke: interference detected. Debt fulfillment in progress. Do not obstruct repayment. When power returned, every Vael officer found the same line burned into their ship's data cores: we agreed to serve, not to kneel. That single phrase spread through the galaxy faster than any weapon. Every government, every military, every species finally understood what the Vael had awakened. Humanity had not returned as servants, they had returned as equals to gods. The Council fractured. Some demanded war. Others called for diplomacy. But there was no negotiation to be had. Humanity did not want conquest. They wanted completion. Their purpose was fixed, their direction unstoppable. Alien philosophers debated what drove them. Some argued it was arrogance. Others claimed it was programming. But one scholar from the Yering Collective said it best: humans are not cruel because they enjoy destruction. They are cruel because mercy has a cost they refuse to leave unpaid. Days turned into weeks. Oryx space became silent. The Terran fleets began purging the outer fringes, then withdrew just as suddenly as they had arrived. Entire sectors were left untouched, yet forever changed. The Vael attempted to open communication again, not with commands, but with caution. You have done enough, they said. The galaxy owes you now. The reply came immediately. Debt does not reverse. We owe nothing. Balance achieved. But even as those words echoed across the stars, the Vael knew it was a lie. Humanity did not believe in balance. They believed in resolution. The kind that left nothing unfinished, nothing uncertain. Across hundreds of worlds, alien citizens looked skyward, half in awe, half in dread. For the first time, they realized the scope of human promise. When humans swore loyalty, it was unbreakable. When they swore vengeance, it was absolute. And when they swore repayment, it was final. A rumor spread from a fringe system where Terran legionnaires had been stationed briefly. A child had approached one, asking why they continued to fight when the war was over. The armored figure had paused, kneeling to meet the child's eyes through a visor of mirrored black. To end it properly, the soldier said. Debts are not forgiven. They are erased. The child asked if the galaxy would ever forget. The soldier's response was soft, almost human again. It doesn't matter if they forget. We won't. That recording circulated across networks before being scrubbed by Terran AI. It became the final message most species ever received before human transmissions ceased entirely. The galaxy was left with silence, broken only by the whisper of ships passing through the void. No one knew where the humans went next, or what they sought to finish. But everyone understood one truth: humanity's promise was the most dangerous weapon in existence. And in their silence, the galaxy began to tremble. The galaxy stood silent. The Auric were gone, their systems cleansed and their memory erased. Where once the swarms spread chaos, only hollow planets remained, dead, cold, sterilized. The Terran fleets lingered for a time, motionless in orbit over the ashes, their hulls reflecting the light of dying suns. Then, one by one, they began to move again. Not toward home, but outward, toward the edge of mapped space. No announcement marked their departure. No gratitude was requested or offered. The humans simply vanished into the void, leaving behind the wreckage of a war no one had asked to win so completely. The Galactic Council gathered to discuss what came next, but every word felt small. The vile Chancellor, once so proud, spoke first. They have done their part. The debt is paid. Yet even he did not sound convinced. Across the galaxy, worlds rebuilt in uneasy quiet. Trade resumed, alliances reformed, but beneath the surface of every conversation lingered the same question: where had the humans gone, and what did repayment truly mean? Entire academic fields formed around the mystery. Some argued the Terrans had transcended into energy, leaving physical space behind. Others believed they remained among the stars, watching, ensuring their balance endured. Months later, a transmission appeared on the galactic network. It was not addressed to anyone. No source, no signature. Just a plain message written in every known language. The debt is repaid. Do not summon us again. At first, many dismissed it as a hoax. But those who attempted to trace its origin found something impossible. The signal had come simultaneously from thousands of points across the galaxy, human systems, dead systems, even areas long abandoned. When attempts were made to triangulate the true source, every sensor array involved in the effort burned out. Entire data centers fried without heat or trace. The message spread faster than light could travel, not through technology, but through fear. The implication was simple: the humans had not left. They were everywhere. The vile Dominion convened a private council. They could not admit their mistake openly, not after invoking the debt. Still, the Chancellor ordered the creation of a secret directive, Containment Protocol Humanus. It authorized surveillance of every system ever touched by the Terran fleet. Not for security, but for reassurance. As the years passed, that reassurance turned into worship. On frontier worlds, shrines appeared, cold metal structures built in the image of Terran helmets. Locals left offerings, hoping to appease whatever might return. They whispered prayers not of devotion, but of fear. May they never be summoned again. Decades passed. Then centuries. Humanity remained unseen. Their colonies stood empty, their signals dark. Yet across the stars, technology bearing Terran design continued to appear, perfectly functional, years beyond any known science. Ships repaired themselves after battle. Weapons reactivated long after their operators died. Each discovery carried the same inscription, etched in ancient Terran script: oath fulfilled. The galaxy prospered, but never fully relaxed. Every alliance charter now included a silent clause forbidding any civilization from invoking ancient oaths or calling upon forgotten debts. The vile ensured it was law. But laws fade, and memory weakens. 1,000 years later, the galaxy faced another crisis. A new threat rose from beyond the rim, mechanical in nature, vast and unrelenting. The Council debated summoning the Terrans once more. They argued that humanity owed them nothing now, that this would not be a summons, merely a plea. But none dared send the message. The Chancellor of that age spoke the truth that all feared to say aloud. If we call them again, he said, we will not survive their kindness. Still, desperation breeds arrogance. Someone did it anyway. The message was broadcast from a hidden system, encoded with fragments of the original debt summons. It was short and pleading: if you still exist, help us. The signal vanished into the void. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing. The crisis continued unchecked, and hope died quietly. Then, without warning, every major communications array across the galaxy flickered. One by one, systems went offline. Gravity anomalies appeared in deep space. Stars dimmed. And from the darkness beyond the rim, sensors detected something vast. No ships. No formations. Just shadows moving in synchronized silence. The first transmission arrived hours later. For words, unchanged through the ages. Debt repayment unnecessary. Balance enforced. The Council tried to respond, but their systems no longer obeyed them. Artificial intelligences began shutting down, rewriting themselves in unknown code. Defensive fleets turned their weapons inward, disassembling themselves ship by ship. No attack followed. No demands were made. It was as if the entire galaxy were being corrected. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. Power returned. Systems stabilized. The threat vanished. The invaders, if they ever existed, were gone. Only a single message remained, burned into the core of every functioning computer. Repayment complete. Equilibrium maintained. It was signed with the Terran insignia. The galaxy realized too late that the humans had never left, never ascended, never vanished. They had become something else entirely, an invisible mechanism woven into the very structure of reality. The debt they once owed had been transmuted into purpose, and that purpose was preservation through domination. From that day forward, the galaxy lived in cautious peace. No one spoke of humanity in the present tense. They were no longer a species. They were a principle, a law, the embodiment of obligation made flesh, then made machine. In the archives of Korath Prime, the Vaal historians wrote the final record of the debt era. The last line read, "They were the only ones who kept their word." And so, across the endless night, the legend endured. Parents warned their children never to demand what they could not repay. Scholars whispered of Terran ghosts haunting the stars, ensuring the balance of promises. Some called them saviors. Others called them monsters. But all agreed on one truth. When humans repay a debt, the galaxy trembles. And even the gods hold their breath.